Hey squad, welcome back. Now today I've got something really special for you Logic Pro X users. I'm going to be showing you how to use Logic's onboard stock plugins to create your own custom drum kits. We're going to do this in the EXS24 Sampler, the Ultrabeat drum synth, the Machine Designer and Alchemy. So don't forget to give me a like and drop me a comment if you're digging what I'm doing. So let's get into this. Okay, so we're now in the Logic Pro X environment and I've got Logic instruments loaded up. The first one, as you can see here, is the EXS24 Sampler. The second one is the Ultrabeat drum synth. The third one is the Logic Machine Designer. And the final one is Logic's Alchemy. Now, all of these instruments will allow you to create custom drum kits tailored to your specific needs. So let's kick things off with the EXS24 Sampler. Okay, so as you would do, I mean, I've got it set up here already, but you go in here and you choose from the list EXS24 Sampler, and that will load up. I've changed the icon, of course, but let's go into this. Here we are. This is the old school EXS24. This has been with Logic since the very early versions, I think from about version 3 or version 3.5 or something like that. It's been around for a very long time. It definitely can use a facelift. It can use some modifications. Although it's extremely powerful, the user interface can definitely do with some modification. Anyway, let me show you how you create your custom drum kits in this. The first thing you want to do is come over here to edit. Click on that. Let's say, for example, we wanted to create a new instrument with just kick drums all the way down. So mapping kick drums all the way through this whole keyboard. What we do now is we'd come up here and we'll go to Zone, Load Multiple Samples, and we'll navigate to where our drum samples are held. So my deduce drums are here, and I'm going to go for the deduce kicks, which now I'll just click in there, open this up, and here are all of my kicks. Now there are 54 samples in here. I could add individual samples. I'll go through and select individual ones and go like so, and maybe something like this. Or I could just say add all, which I'm going to do. All right, so all of the samples have been added into this window down here. And now I'm going to just go done. Now Logic is going to give me three options. I could allow Logic to analyze the tone of the audio file and get it to map it based on the tone. Or I can go for drum zones without range. But I'm going to go for this one, contiguous zones. I only want one sample per note. I could increase this to stretch the sample over 2, 3, 4, or maybe more notes each sample. However, I just want one sample per note, and I'm going to start from C1 and allow the drums to be mapped from here all the way up the keyboard. Okay, so let's hit OK. And now, as you can see right here, the samples have been added to my keyboard. So let's... Okay, so that's fantastic. What I'm going to do at this stage, I'm actually going to save this. All right. And I hit save, and this will automatically save into Logic's Sampler Instruments folder, so I can easily pull this up next time round. Okay. Now the EXS24, it does offer you a lot of control over each individual sample, as well as control over the overall instrument combined. So for example, let's take this kick drum right here. Okay. What I can do, I can tune this up using coarse tuning, or tune it down. I could use fine tuning. I can adjust the volume, pan position. Okay, I can also adjust the scale. I can also choose the outputs and map it to different outputs, as well as adjusting the key range. So for example, let's say I wanted this to be stretched over more than one key or one note. I could pull that back like so. And as you can see down here, it's mapped over more notes. And of course it's tuned accordingly. Now if I was to switch pitch off and now click, as you can see, the note remains exactly the same pitch. Okay, put this back to C1 again. Okay, so the other thing is one shot. Now one shot as well is something that you need to be clear on. So let's find another sample. Okay, so this sample here on A1, when I hit the note, I'm just giving it a sharp hit. I'm not holding the note down at all, and it plays the whole sample all the way through. If I switch off one shot and try that again, Now it cuts short. It doesn't play the whole sample. If I want to hear the whole sample, I need to hold the note down. Okay, let's switch that back on. The other thing we want to do is check out the reverse. So if I switch reverse on, the sample can be reversed. Now there are a number of other things that you can do as well. You can adjust the velocity as well. You can layer notes on top of notes. And so you can have multi-layered sampled instruments. So at different velocities, different samples will sound. Currently, each of the samples occupy a zone, as you can see right here. Let's create another zone. So I'm going to go to zone, new zone, and I'm going to map this zone to start from C1 all the way down to F5, which covers the whole range of the samples that I've got already. And this time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce another sample on top of this, a hi-hat. I'm going to insert this one and open. Now, I'm going to switch off pitching, and I'm going to have one shot switched on as well. So the pitch of this hi-hat sample will not change across the whole keyboard. Okay, let's select the sample, turn the volume all the way down so we can hear the difference. Okay, so. Okay. On this sample, now I'm going to bring the volume back up on this. Okay, now the thing I want to show you regarding velocity, let's select the sample. And we can now adjust the velocity so that maybe when the note is struck really hard, maybe at a value of 100, the hi-hat will be sounded on top of the kick. Now let's adjust that velocity. What we want to do, we want to come up here, we want to go to View, and we are going to choose Velocity Range, Zone Velocity Range, and now we get some values over here. So we're going to switch that on here. I'm going to make sure, first of all, that only the zone I'm concerned with is selected, just that hi-hat zone. And I'm going to pull the value all the way up to about 100. And let's see what difference that makes. I'm going to hit the drum now, fairly lightly. I'm going to now increase the intensity. So as you can tell, when I hit at a velocity over 100, both the hi-hat and the kick drum is sounded. Okay, so that's quite a useful tool to have in your arsenal. So you can layer drums and have them trigger at different velocities on the same note. And it's not just for drums, you can have it with effects, you can have it with keyboard sounds, or whatever samples you want to layer together, you can do the same technique. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to save this instrument. Just hit save there. And this is ready to go. Let's come out of here and we go back to the main EXS24 interface, and now as you can see right here we've got the deduce kicks drum kit, and now we can process the overall instrument even more, like by adding filter, right? We can add some distortion, we can drive, resonance. Okay, there's a whole range of stuff we can do here. I mean, I've got other videos which go into more depth regarding this, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But yeah, the EXS24 is really a great tool for creating your sampled instruments, especially drum kits. Like I said, it can use a bit of an overhaul to make things a little bit easier, but at the same time, there's no denying it's a very powerful tool. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Ultrabeat. Now, the Ultrabeat, which looks like this, has been with Logic again for quite a number of years, and it's a really useful tool. I don't use it that much, to be honest with you, because I do find it a bit too fiddly to work with. However, there are guys who swear by this tool and have absolutely mastered it. What you can do, like a traditional drum machine, you can create drum sequences, or you could just use it to trigger Logic's own drum kits, or you can create your own custom drum kits, which is what we're going to do today. So right now I've got the user default kit. I'm going to go to tutorial settings, and go to tutorial kit. Yeah, so now I'm set to the tutorial kit. There are still drum sounds loaded, but in terms of drum sequences, nothing is actually programmed in here. So that's nice and clear. So in order to install our own individual samples into this, what we need to do, we need to clear all of these cells. And unfortunately, I have not found a way of doing this in one swoop. You have to unfortunately do them individually. If someone watching this video knows how to clear this, please do drop me a line in the comment section, because I've searched everywhere and I've never been able to clear all of these in one go. Basically hit one button and clear it all. That doesn't seem to exist. And I've not found a preset called empty kit. So unfortunately, we're stuck with having to do this manually. Anyway, that's the point of the demonstration. So if what you want to do now is you want to come over to each one of these notes and you want to right click like so and come down to init, which is short for initialize, and come across to sample, and you hit sample. And now the parameters to this cell have been changed and we are able to now load samples in here. Now let's do another one. We're going to click on this one, kick 2. The sound is like this. That's the original sound. Let's right click on that, init, and down to sample. Okay. And if I was to click these now, these are completely empty. So I'm going to go away now and I'm going to clear all of this, and I'll be back in a second to show you how you can load up your individual samples in this. Okay, so I've done the majority of the cells or voices, and I've got 2 left. And what I discovered whilst doing this was what I can do is if I've initialized one of these, I can right click on it and I can go to copy voiced, and I'll move to the next cell, such as this one or this note, and then I can do paste voice. I suppose it's a little bit easier. Ideally, you'd want to be able to hit a button or choose a preset that is already initialized. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. We're now going to save this. We're going to save as empty kit. Okay, so now you won't have to do this again. And this will be whenever you come into Ultrabeat and you want to start with a completely blank slate, this is the kit you will pull up. Let's save that right here. And now let's create a new Ultrabeat software instrument and check that out. And now if we look in here, we will see empty kit in our drop down list. All right, so hit that. And now we've got our completely empty kit. All right, so no need to do that again. Let's delete this one and go back to this. Now this icon right here is a TR909 icon, which I like to use. I like to use custom icons on my kits from time to time. Anyway, let's get back in here. And now we are going to look at introducing our new samples. Now, just to kind of give you a quick overview of what we're looking at here. It does look complicated, and I suppose the layout could definitely be updated as well. Even the color scheme could be updated. But in any case, Ultrabeat is a drum synthesizer. You're able to create drums using 2 oscillators. We've got oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, and this allows us to combine samples and synthesis to come up with really interesting sounds. But the focus for today is solely about introducing or creating our own custom drum kits or drum patches. So what we want to do on this occasion is we want to have a whole drum kit full of just kick drums only, okay? So I'm going to come to this first cell right here and click on this voice right here. And now the parameters over here all now relate to this voice. So I come to here and I click there and I go to load, and I'm going to navigate to my kick drums because I want my Ultrabeat kit to be made solely up of kick drums. I'm going to select my first kick. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, let's go with that one. Now the problem with this now is, of course, you've got to introduce these individually. So if I was to click on here, that's in. When I double click on the cell or the voice, I could rename the voice. So I'm going to just call it kick 1. Okay, and now I'm moving to the next cell. So this a C1. This one's empty, as you can tell. If I click over here, you'll see this change. These parameters relate to this cell. Now, another way of loading samples into the cells is actually to go to your Finder, open your Finder, audition your sound out here if you like. If you like that one, and then simply drag and drop into here. And now the sample's in there. Now we can double click here and rename as kick. I'm just going to call it kick 2 for now. Okay, the first sample I brought in, I used this feature right here, and I loaded the sample from here. Okay, now when I press here, it plays the whole sample all the way through. So the one shot is switched on. Whereas when I dragged this sample in from here and dropped it into the window just here, when I hold, the whole note plays, but one shot is switched off. So in order to have better control over your samples, I would recommend you drag them into the window right here. That way you can determine how long the sample sustains whenever you hit a note. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, I'm just going to do one more. Okay, I'm just going to use this one real quick. Drag that, and I'm dropping it in here. I'm going to double click on this, rename, kick 3, and I'm not going to bother loading the rest up. You get the idea. There's also other functions that you can mess with. You can mess with the pitch right here. So we're on this one. I'll use the keyboard to trigger, and I'm going to mess with the pitch in the meanwhile. Okay, so you can see the pitch changing, the volume as well. You can adjust the volume right here of the sample. So you can switch on the filter up here. So you know there's a filter as well. You can mess with, and you know there are other parameters that you can mess with. I'm not going to go too deep into Ultrabeat. The whole idea of this is to show you how you can create your custom kits. Okay, and this is basically how you pull them in. I'll have other videos on how to go about shaping your sounds and adding additional synthesis on top. The only other thing I want to make you aware of is you can click here and you can create subgroups. Your left and right pan control. You can solo, mute, and that's the main thing I want to show you on Ultrabeat. Okay, now finally, once you've finished building your kit, all you need to do is save it. And you come up here to save as. We can give it a title. Okay, save that. Create a new Ultrabeat instrument. Ultrabeat drum synth, Deuce test kit. So your custom or user presets will be stored in this block right here. Okay, let's run that up, and there we are. Okay, so let's now move to our next software instrument. Okay, so we now move to the Drum Machine Designer, and I have got a dedicated tutorial video on this one, in fact, and the link will be on the screen if you want to dig deeper into this. This one we're going to do today is more of an overview. So to find the Drum Machine Designer, you create a new empty software instrument channel strip. You go to Electronic Drum Kit, and then you choose Drum Machine Designer. Okay, oftentimes when you load up, you probably start with something like one of the presets, maybe After Party. So what you want to do is you want to go to Empty Kit. Okay, and once you're on Empty Kit, if we open that up now, you'll see that nothing is actually loaded in any of these drum cells. All right, it's nice and empty, and you'll also see on the channel strip a lot of preloaded effects plugins have been disabled. So I'm going to go back to this one which I had loaded already. Open this up. Let's click on here, and this is our window. And now what we're going to do on this occasion, instead of creating just a preset with just kick drums, let's create a simple custom drum kit. And it's really simple to create this in the Drum Machine Designer. So over here, let's move this across like so, and I'm going to press F on the keyboard to pull up my file browser. I'm going to come over to all files, and I'm going to go to my Deduce drums, and I've got a simple kit here, Deduce kit, with just a few samples in there. So I'm going to click through these so you can hear what I'm talking about. Okay, so I want to create a custom kit with just these samples. So all I need to do is grab the first one, the kick drum, drag and drop into here. And now there's my kick drum. Okay, now one thing that you will notice is the volume has gone crazy loud. Let's have a look at the channel strip as well. So by clicking this, that's mad loud. So the first thing you want to do is pull the volume down. I normally take it down to -18 dB. Okay, now if I hit that, okay, right. And now let's bring our snare drum in, drop that in here, and just load up the rest of the sounds into the kit. The hi-hat there. Actually move the hi-hat over here. We can just actually drag and drop that over here, and we can move the claps just here, and the shaker I'll put up here. Okay, so now let's audition these. Now the same thing applies in terms of volume. As you click around in here, that you'll see the parameters change for each of the cells. So I'm just going to pull this down as well to -18. And if you notice over here, as I'm adjusting this control, over here we've got the fader, which is dedicated to this cell. So I'm just going to double click on this, and I'm going to type -18. Okay, and that's what I want there. I'm going to move to this one, the snare, and I'm going to also set this to -18. Okay, in fact, I could take more out of that as well if I wanted to, but -18 is a good place to start. Go to the claps as well, and I'm going to change this as well to -18 dB. Okay, and the hats as well to -18. Okay, so everything should now trigger right. Let's clear the overload just there. Having done that, as you can see, we've got a range of things that we can do as well with each of these cells or samples. I can change the pitch. To reset any of these parameters, you hold down the Option key and click, and that will reset. We can adjust the attack time. So we've got attack and decay. We can position left and right. Okay, we've also got filters over here, and you can add distortion, drive, and you can crush, add a bit of reverb and stereo spread, and that's per individual cell. So there's a lot of control over each individual cell. And if we were to adjust the low cut filter, you will see that this control is linked directly to the EQ right here. Okay, let's open that up. So as I'm adjusting right here, you can see that movement there. All right, so let's close that. And if we were to switch on the drive, that will be linked to the overdrive. So if we open up the overdrive plugin and we were to mess with this, you'll see the amount of drive. So these controls are sort of macro controls linked to the plugins over here. So the reverb, for example, we'll switch that on. You'll see the silver verb is on the sample delay, which will be this one. Okay, so these are directly linked to this channel strip, which is dedicated solely to this cell. And now if I move to this cell, you will see that it's got its own set of plugins which you can adjust. If I was to click up here, this is the master channel, and if I was to say adjust the low cut again, you'll see the EQ curve changing. It's filtering out low frequencies there. All right, again, I'm not going to go too deep into this. The idea is to show you how you can create your custom kit. Now what you want to do is, once you've loaded this up and you've made all of your adjustments and you're happy, what you do then is you come over to library, and you come down here, down the bottom section, and you click save, do kit 1. And now that's stored. And let's come out of that, and let's create a new instance of the drum machine designer. And all you do is you come in, and at the top here you will see user patches, and if we click on that, you will see Deuce Kit 1. Click on that and you will find your kit loaded up just down here. There you go, all sorted. So yeah, that's how you create your custom kit in the Drum Machine Designer. And like I said, check out the full video from the link on the screen. Now let's go over to Alchemy. Okay, so now finally we're going to be looking at Alchemy. And Alchemy is a massive part of Logic. It's a huge synth, and it's also a sampler. And it's fantastic because there's a whole range of things that you can do with this powerful plugin. When we start at the plugin, we come in with our default patch, and this is this bright synth right here. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we go to File, and we want to initialize the preset or clear the preset. So hit initialize. Alchemy is brilliant because you can combine the sounds of 4 separate oscillators. You can see A, B, C, D. Now at the moment A is switched on and everything else is switched off, but the power of Alchemy is from combining all 4 of these oscillators where you can insert individual sounds. Anyway, so we're going to be solely working with source A. And in source A, at the moment we've got a saw wave, and we're going to click on here and we're going to change this to import audio. Okay, let's click on that, and then we get this window, and down here we're going to choose. We can choose either granular or sampler. I'm going to go for sampler, and because I'm working with drums, I'm going to choose drum rather than pitch, because I don't want the sampler to analyze the pitch of my drum sounds and place them on individual notes. I want them to just be mapped across the keyboard automatically. We've got the drop zone right here, so let's move this across like so. We go back to the main window and press F on the keyboard, which will pull up our file browser. Again, I'm just going to load up kick drums, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to use the Command A to select all, drag and drop them in here. And now we're just going to hit import, and all 54 samples will be imported into this Alchemy preset. So now if I click on the keyboard, okay, so there are all of my kicks. Now we can get a better view of that by clicking on source A over here, and I can click on edit, and here's our keyboard, and here is all the mapping. Now you have got some control over each of the different zones or the different samples. What would be ideal is if we could zoom this window, this screen right here, to get in a bit closer to the zones. All right. I wish there was a way of doing that, maybe dragging, but that's not possible. So let's say, for example, I wanted to mess with the sample that's on C3. I need to carefully go in and try and make sure I catch C3. Look over here, you can see the key. I've just clicked on D flat 3, so I need to come over and try and get this one, C3. Okay, so I'm now on C3, and I can now mess with this sample. So let's say, for example, I wanted to adjust the volume. I can mess with the volume here, or the tuning, of course, and pan position. Again, to reset back to 0, let's say the tuning was down here, you just hold the option key and click, and same with all of these parameters. I can also set the velocity parameters as well as the spread of the key. So for example, if I wanted this sample to spread across the keyboard from, say, over a wider range of notes, now this is layered across the other samples that are sitting on neighboring keys. Okay, but I'm going to keep this on C3. We can X out of this now, and now the whole drum kit, all of the drums can now be processed by the modulation section as well as the effects section down here. So let's say, for example, we were going to work with this sound, this sample right here. We can come down to the effects section down here. We can add some effects. Let's switch that on and go in here, and we can choose from, let's say we wanted a vintage compressor on it. Okay, you can also add, there's an EQ here. Now there's a range of different effects you can mess with to enhance your samples. But again, I'm not going to get into too much details. The main thing I want to show you is how to actually map the sounds to your sampler to get your sample instrument up, and then you can mess with the effects, modulation and so on at your own leisure. So let's say, for example, this was our final kit. What we'll do is come up here to default and we'll go save as, save. And if I was to come out of here and create a new Alchemy instrument, if you come down here, you'll see Deuce Test Kicks. Load that up. And now, there you go. Okay, now I really do hope you've gained something from this video. Now, as always, it's great hearing from you. So do remember to comment, like, subscribe, and share this video, as this really helps to support my channel. And also, if you'd like to support me on my music journey, why not check out some of my music on my website, link is below. And finally, like the rest of the MTTC squad, remember to switch on your notification bell so when my next video drops, you'll find out straight away. Now, I'll be back real soon. I'm Dr. Deuce. Peace.